Chapter 6 Earth centuries passed. Then millennia. The descendants of the Nameless One did not remain a single tribe. They spread, intermingled, migrated across deserts, forests, and coastlines. Yet even diluted, the bloodline carried something unmistakable: resilience, strength, and minds that adapted faster than others. Among them, certain individuals were born different. Not overwhelmingly powerful, but exceptional. Their bones denser, their muscles more efficient, their minds capable of holding complex patterns passed down orally through generations. These individuals became leaders not by force, but by capability. They remembered fragments, stories of a man who walked the sky, a being who spoke little but taught survival, the ancestor who left the world. They called him the Nameless One. And his first children were known as the sons and daughters of the Nameless One. The first monolith, it began in a wide savanna near a river basin. One descendant, taller than most, with unusual endurance, proposed something radical: we build something that does not move, something that shows we endure. They began carving stone, not randomly, but with strange geometric precision. Patterns passed down in chants and oral teachings, patterns originally inspired by the Nameless One's observations of balance and structure. Massive stones were dragged across kilometers using coordinated strength and clever leverage techniques. What should have taken thousands, took hundreds. Because these descendants worked differently. They planned before moving, they optimized labor, they understood weight distribution intuitively. The first monolith rose. A towering slab of stone, angled toward specific stars. It served no functional purpose. No shelter, no defense, just presence. More monoliths followed. Across generations, they built massive upright pillars aligned with solstices, circular stone formations encoding seasonal cycles, multi-layered stacked structures balanced impossibly well. These were not primitive constructions. They demonstrated advanced spatial reasoning, mathematical intuition, coordinated societal organization. They did not write. They did not record, but knowledge passed perfectly through memory training rituals. Their minds adapted. Nearby tribes noticed. They saw people stronger than average, communities healthier than theirs, structures far beyond their capabilities. Fear spread. Rumors formed. They called to the sky. They summoned spirits. They are not fully human. Trade turned to suspicion. Suspicion turned to distance. Distance turned to hostility. A coalition of non-descendant tribes gathered. Their leaders spoke. If they continue growing, they will rule us all. They did not understand. The descendants had no interest in conquest. Their focus remained internal. Learning, building, refining. But fear does not require truth. Only difference. One night, attackers approached a monolith settlement. They expected primitive resistance. Instead, they encountered organized defense. Coordinated positioning, non-lethal disabling strikes, strategic retreat patterns. The descendants did not slaughter. They subdued. This only worsened fear, because now, they appeared superior. Over centuries, monoliths spread across regions. They became symbols, not of religion, not of worship, but of endurance and evolution. The descendants believed, we build so future generations know we grew and endured. Far from Earth, the Nameless One drifted near a dense nebula. The suit hummed constantly now, adapting to his increasing evolution. He sensed movement, chaotic, hungry. They emerged from the nebula, enormous beings resembling translucent cosmic squid. Their bodies stretched kilometers long, with tendrils glowing faintly. They moved by bending space locally, gliding silently. They were not technological. They were biological predators of space. They fed on radiation, plasma, organic anomalies, and he looked like prey. One tendril lashed toward him. It didn't move through space. It phased through dimensions. He reacted instantly, stepping slightly outside alignment. The tendril passed through him. But more followed. Hundreds. He observed quickly. They sensed energy fluctuations. They adapted to dimensional shifts. Their bodies regenerated rapidly. This was not like previous opponents. These creatures evolved in real time. He compressed a tendril into a dense knot. It dissolved, reformed. He increased output. The suit tightened. Warning-like resistance appeared. He shifted tactics. Instead of destroying matter, he altered their movement priority. One squid suddenly drifted away uncontrollably. Another collided with it. The nebula rippled. They surrounded him. Their tendrils formed a cage. Space warped. They attempted to consume him. He stepped fully into dimensional offset. But they followed. They adapted. He realized. They evolved to hunt anomalies just like him. For the first time in centuries he increased power output significantly. He extended his hand. Space compressed. A spherical void formed. 3 squid were crushed into silent collapse. The rest recoiled. The suit flickered. Geometric patterns scrambled. It struggled to contain the surge. The Nameless One stopped in the void. He decided it was time to end the fight efficiently. Instead of destroying them all, he altered gravitational vectors enough to impact their movements. The swarm drifted away from him, pulled toward a nearby star. They pursued easier prey. He floated alone again. The nebula settled. The suit slowly stabilized, but he felt it clearly now. It was falling behind. Back on Earth, monoliths stand tall across plains. Descendants train minds and bodies. Fear grows among outsiders. History shifts quietly. In space, he drifts forward. Suit adapting, evolution accelerating, and somewhere, stronger civilizations begin noticing the disturbance. Deep in the void of space the Nameless One drifted. He stopped near a pulsar. The neutron star spun violently, beams of radiation slicing through space like cosmic lighthouses. Every rotation bent nearby space-time, producing rhythmic distortions that echoed across light years. He positioned himself just outside the destructive radius. Then he sat cross-legged in the vacuum. The suit adjusted instantly, filtering radiation, stabilizing gravitational stress. But he intentionally lowered its assistance slightly. He wanted to feel the environment. The pulsar's gravity tugged at him. Not strongly, but persistently. He allowed it. Then he began meditating. His thoughts moved slowly and deliberately. He categorized his current abilities. For existence he no longer relied on conventional biology. His body functioned more like a stable anchor point in reality. He could withstand extreme gravity fields, vacuum exposure, radiation bursts, temperature fluctuations. He wasn't invulnerable, but damage rarely persisted. Spatial authority: he could move through space without propulsion. Instead of traveling, he altered where he was prioritized. This allowed him to cross astronomical distances without speed. Compared to fictional characters he remembered, he considered, some beings relied on speed, crossing galaxies in moments. He realized, I don't move fast, I move correctly. This made him more efficient than raw speed. Dimensional perception: he could sense overlapping layers of existence. Wormholes, distortions, dimensional predators. All appeared as shifts in texture rather than objects. He compared this to fictional dimensional walkers. His conclusion: they travel between worlds. I feel the structure holding worlds together. Reality resistance: this remained his most unique trait. When forces attempted to impose themselves, he could deny their priority. He remembered fictional reality manipulators, beings who rewrote existence. He realized, they change reality, I refuse to be changed by it. Subtle difference, but fundamental. Sealed potential: the suit still held back roughly 65% of his deeper evolution. He could feel it like a sleeping ocean beneath calm waves. He compared this to fictional transformation systems, forms, power-ups, evolutions. His conclusion: if I remove the suit, growth becomes uncontrolled. With it, growth becomes structured and I can control it. He kept it. He opened his eyes, staring at the pulsar beam sweeping past. Even now, I'm still not at the highest tier of fictional existence. He didn't feel challenged. He felt motivated. He rose slowly and drifted onward. POV switch, Earth, 12,000 BC. The world had changed. Ice sheets still covered parts of the northern continents, but civilizations were forming in pockets, not just primitive tribes anymore. And at the center of many of them, the monolith stood. The descendants no longer saw themselves as just bloodlines. They formed structured identities. Each monolith became the center of a kingdom. They called themselves collectively the children of Langa, the naming of the ancestor through oral tradition, myths refined over thousands of years. They gave the Nameless One a name, Langa, meaning the sun. Because he gave them life, he guided their ancestors, he left the sky they believed, he watched from beyond. Not as a god, but as the first ancestor. Over the years, each monolith civilization evolved differently. 1. The Savannah Kingdom, IMBALI, located near fertile plains, they became agricultural innovators. They used stone-embedded energy crystals to enhance crop growth, controlled weather towers producing localized rainfall, defensive energy spears capable of piercing armored beasts. They were friendly toward nearby humans and often traded knowledge. 2. The Desert Kingdom, KHAYON, built around monoliths buried in sand seas. They mastered heat-resistant armor woven from mineral fibers, solar-absorbing weapons projecting focused heat beams, sand-gliding transport crafts. They remained neutral, avoiding conflict unless provoked. 3. The Forest Kingdom. Zarmaku dense jungle civilization. They specialized in bioengineered plants used as living structures, energy vines capable of immobilizing large creatures, silent movement technology. They coexisted peacefully with nearby humans. 4. The Mountain Kingdom. Tharik high-altitude fortress. They developed gravity-enhanced armor increasing strength, mountain-shattering resonance cannons used only in internal wars, floating stone platforms for transport. They were isolationist but not aggressive, but there were others. Surrounding Africa were scattered island chains. Here lived the most aggressive descendants. They called themselves the Vurakii. Isolation shaped them. They distrusted mainland descendants, normal humans, outsiders of any kind. They developed combat-focused technology. Energy blades cutting through rock, shockwave emitters capable of flattening forests, compact flight harnesses. They raided occasionally but rarely invaded fully. Normal humans grew alongside them. They lacked advanced technology, but they developed myths. Sky-born giants, sun children, stone builders, spirit warriors. Some worshipped them. Others feared them. Most avoided them. The final monolith built was unlike any other. It was not stationary. It moved slowly, massively, like a walking mountain. This monolith became the center of a cult-like civilization. They called themselves the Order of the Burning Sun. They did not merely respect Langa. They worshipped him. They believed he would return. Only the strongest deserved survival. Evolution required sacrifice. Their monolith was different from the rest. It functioned as a moving city, a fortress, a temple. Its base contained massive rotating stone rings powered by unknown energy. When it moved, the ground trembled. Entire populations relocated around it. They possessed the most dangerous weapons. Beam cannons capable of cracking mountains, energy shields covering entire settlements, kinetic pulse generators, but they rarely used them on normal humans. Instead, they used low-intensity energy weapons, stun fields, controlled intimidation. They reserved full power for descendant conflicts. Both humans and other descendants feared them. Reasons: extreme devotion, expansionist ideology, mobile weaponized fortress. They declared, when Langa returns, we will be ready to stand beside him. By 12,000 BC, multiple descendant kingdoms existed. Humanity advanced slowly. Myths spread globally. Technology remained hidden. They maintained balance. But tension simmered. In space, the Nameless One, now called Langa by his people, drifts past distant stars. Unaware of his name, unaware of the kingdoms, unaware of the cult. Chapter 7. Langa remains suspended beside the pulsar, deep in meditation. The neutron star spun faster than before. Its rotational energy built to catastrophic levels. Magnetic fields twisted violently, creating arcs of radiation that tore through surrounding space. Even from his position, he could feel the distortion tugging at the dimensional layers he normally perceived as stable. But he did not move. He observed, analyzed. The pulsar was reaching instability, its crust fracturing under its own rotational stress. He had seen stellar collapse before, but this was different. The structure of this star was failing unevenly, creating pressure pockets in its magnetic poles. Then it happened. The pulsar ruptured, not like a normal supernova. This was a magnetar flare, one of the most violent phenomena in existence. A beam of radiation burst outward, carrying enough energy to strip atmospheres from planets across systems. Space-time itself warped under the sudden release. The wave hit Langa. The suit reacted instantly, forming thousands of micro-stabilization layers. But this energy wasn't uniform. It struck across electromagnetic spectrum, gravitational distortions, dimensional interference, temporal ripple. For the first time in centuries, the suit lagged. It lasted less than a heartbeat. But for Langa, that fraction expanded. The suit's containment layers flickered. The sealed 65% surged forward. Not violently, naturally, like a dam cracking. He didn't force it. He simply allowed it. The seal parted, not fully destroyed, but opened. Immediately space around him trembled. Not locally, not subtly. Across 5 light years, reality shook. Stars flickered. Asteroid belts shifted. Gravitational balances fluctuated. Dimensional layers rippled like disturbed water. Everything became clearer. He saw Multiple dimensional planes simultaneously, gravitational threads connecting stars, the underlying structure of vacuum fluctuations. The universe appeared less like empty space and more like an interconnected fabric. His presence now pressed into it. He lifted his hand, without intent to destroy a nearby fragment of neutron star matter compressed into nothing. No explosion, no sound, just erase. The suit screamed silently. Geometric structures reformed frantically, trying to contain the expansion. The disturbance spread outward. Effects included comets altering trajectories, micro wormholes forming, then collapsing, radiation fields bending around empty space, sensors of distant civilizations going dark. No explosion. No energy blast. Just existence instability. So this is what I was holding back, he thought. Not excitement, not fear, just recognition. The Volcarine suit adapted rapidly. New containment layers formed, but they weren't enough. He had evolved far beyond the original parameters. The suit no longer sealed. It negotiated. It shifted from suppression to cooperation. His appearance didn't change dramatically. Still, tall, dark-skinned, muscular, dreadlocks drifting in vacuum, but now, faint distortions surrounded him. Light curved slightly near his outline. Space seemed attentive. 5 light-years away, dormant alien monitoring stations activated. Ancient probes recorded. Localized existential distortion detected. Deep space predators altered course. Civilizations flagged anomaly alerts. The disturbance was impossible to ignore. He stepped forward. Instead of moving, space folded. He crossed millions of kilometers instantly. No effort, no transition, just repositioning. He stopped immediately. He understood. If I keep using this, the suit will fail. So he restrained himself. Again, even with restraint. Nearby dust clouds rotated slowly around him. Radiation bent away from his presence. Dimensional seams widened temporarily. He had become heavier in reality. I need to understand this level before it grows again. He moved forward. But now, the universe moved slightly around him. And far away, Earth's monoliths hummed faintly. As if something ancient felt his presence again. Back in the void. After the pulsar incident, Langa deliberately tightened the suit again, stabilizing himself at approximately equals 50% active output to avoid further reality distortion. Before moving, he conducted a structured analysis, comparing himself to fictional beings he remembered from DC mythology. Core abilities 1. Existential weight, reality presence. Langa's existence now passively affects nearby space-time. Comparison. Stronger than Superman in raw environmental influence. Superman doesn't warp space just by existing. Comparable in presence, effect to darkside avatars, but without relying on Omega energy. 2. Spatial repositioning. He doesn't travel. He shifts where he exists. Comparison. Faster than the Flash in practical traversal. No speed build-up required. Less versatile than Speed Force manipulation, but more efficient. 3. Dimensional perception. He senses layers beyond physical reality. Comparison. Similar awareness level to Martian Manhunter. Telepathic dimensional sensing. Inferior to cosmic omniscience of Dr. Manhattan. 4. Reality resistance. Instead of manipulating reality, he refuses imposed change. Comparison. Resistant to manipulation from beings like Zatanna. Partial resistance to higher-tier manipulation from Mr. Mxyzptlk, but not absolute. 5. Physical strength. 50% sealed. Raw lifting. Striking force. Can shatter planetoids casually. Can compress neutron star material briefly. Survives stellar radiation bursts. Comparison. Stronger than baseline Wonder Woman. Comparable to mid-tier Superman feats. Below full power Darkseid 6. Durability. He resists stellar explosions, gravity wells, dimensional slicing, radiation storms. Comparison. Comparable to high-end Superman. Durability. Less durable than abstract beings like the Spectre 7. Evolutionary growth. Constant adaptive evolution. Comparison. Similar in concept to Doomsday, but controlled faster long-term growth potential. Overall tier estimate at 50% physical strength. High Kryptonian tier speed. Beyond conventional durability. Planetary stellar reality interaction. Low cosmic growth potential. Extreme current overall. Between Superman and Darkseid avatar. Langa concluded, at half power, I can contend with many, but not the highest cosmic entities. So he sealed further fluctuations and moved. He sensed it first. Conflict. Space itself vibrated differently, layered disturbances overlapping in chaotic bursts. Energy signatures clashed, weapons discharged, ships shattered. He turned. 7 light-years away, a massive red giant star burned like a dying ember. He moved. Space folded repeatedly. His form blurred across vacuum. Then he arrived. The star dominated the system. Massive, swollen, its outer layers flared outward, bathing nearby planets in crimson light. Orbiting debris fields formed glowing rings of molten rock. And between them, war. Thousands of ships, different shapes, different technologies, different species. The battlefield stretched across millions of kilometers. Explosions lit space like artificial stars. Faction 1, the Hellier Dominion. Their ships were angular, gold-plated, radiating solar energy. They resembled floating pyramids with rotating rings. Weapons. Stellar plasma lances, heat beam cannons, solar absorption shields. Their species. Tall, radiant humanoids with crystalline skin and glowing eyes. They thrived near stars. Faction 2, the Vorketh swarm, organic ships. Living, tentacled hulls with pulsating membranes. They fired bioacid projectiles, gravitational spores, living missile creatures. Their species resembled massive squid-like beings with multiple eyes. Predatory, relentless. Faction 3, the Crawl Mechanocracy, fully mechanical. Ships shaped like rotating cubes. They deployed drone swarms, energy grid cannons, disruption pulses. Their AI cores coordinated perfectly. Faction 4, the Drathari nomads, massive armored vessels resembling moving fortresses. Crewed by reptilian warriors. Weapons. Rail cannons, shield-breaking torpedoes, boarding craft. The Hellier Dominion tried to defend orbital energy collectors. The Vorketh swarm attempted to consume them. The Kale Mechanocracy attacked everyone to secure resources. The Drathari raided opportunistically. It was not two sides. It was four-way galactic warfare. Langa hovered silently. None noticed him yet. Ships exploded. Boarding pods slammed into hulls. Fighters darted between wreckage. The red giant flared, occasionally frying entire squadrons. Drathari soldiers boarded a Hellier cruiser. Armored reptilian warriors clashed with radiant humanoids. Energy blades met plasma shields. Bodies floated into space. A Vorketh organic battleship wrapped tentacles around a crawl cube vessel. It began digesting the hull. Mechanical drones sliced tentacles apart. Bioacid sprayed. Both ships exploded. Hellier's ships opened massive collectors. They siphoned energy directly from the red giant. Then fired. A beam thicker than mountains tore through multiple Vorketh organisms. Crawl ships formed a geometric lattice. Energy pulses synchronized. They created a temporary gravity trap, collapsing dozens of fighters. Langa analyzed. Tactical coordination, energy outputs, technological advancement. These civilizations were far beyond early Earth descendants. One crawl drone scanned him. It froze. Processing. Then transmitted. Unknown entity detected. Not ship. Not debris. All factions began noticing. A stray torpedo headed toward him. He didn't move. The torpedo reached him and flattened. Light hitting invisible density. Nearby ships registered anomaly. Sensors across fleets recalculated. They could not classify him. He was not emitting thrust, not shielded, not mechanical, not biological. By their standards, a massive squid-like commander creature turned toward him. Hungry. It saw potential prey. It launched. He stepped aside. The creature missed. He tapped it. The creature stopped. Its massive body froze. Then drifted apart. No explosion. Just structural failure. Silence spreads in the already quiet void. Multiple ships halted firing momentarily. They watched. A reptilian warlord ordered, "Test the anomaly." 3 heavy rail cannons fired. Projectiles struck Langa. They slowed, then fell. The crawl machine network began modeling. Result: entity exceeds combat baseline. They deployed heavier weapons. The battle resumed. But now, he stood in the center. Watching, learning. The red giant flared behind him. Ships burned. Aliens fought. And for the first time since leaving Earth, he had entered a true galactic war zone. Chapter 8: The battlefield burned around him. Thousands of ships firing. Energy beams crossing. Missiles streaking like artificial comets. Langa stood still in the center of it all. Completely unmoving. Until now, a thin invisible layer surrounded him, a passive stabilization field created by the suit working with his own presence. It deflected most attacks before they truly touched him. He made a decision. He removed it. Not gradually. Instantly. The next volley hit him directly. Rail cannon rounds struck his chest. Bioacid missiles detonated across his shoulders. Solar lances burned into his back. Gravity distortions collapsed inward around his body. He did not move. They assumed he would fall. So they escalated. Hellier Dominion ships redirected star-powered beams. Vorketh Swarm released massive organic artillery. Kale Mechanocracy deployed synchronized annihilation pulses. Drathari fortresses fired planet-breaking rail cannons. He stood. Energy swallowed him. Light engulfed him. Explosions layered over explosions. The red giant's flare illuminated the continuous storm. Minutes passed. Inside the storm, his body adapted. Radiation tolerance increased, gravity resistance hardened, energy absorption improved, dimensional anchoring strengthened, each attack refined him. Each explosion became data. Each weapon became obsolete seconds after hitting him. But the suit, it couldn't keep up. Cracks formed along its geometric lines. Segments flickered. Containment algorithms overloaded. The suit wasn't designed for constant evolution beyond its ceiling. A combined blast from 3 factions struck simultaneously. The suit fractured. Pieces peeled away like dissolving metal. Its luminous lines dimmed. Then it stopped adapting. Fragments drifted off his shoulders. The chest lattice dissolved. Armoring collapsed into dust-like particles. The last piece faded from his forearm. Langa looked at his hand. Bare, unrestricted. He stared at the drifting remnants for a moment. Not sadness. Recognition. Greater than, you did enough. Then he stepped forward. As he moved, memory surfaced. The earlier squid-like predators. The ones that tried to devour him. The Vorketh resembled them. Instinct stirred. Something deeper. Primitive. Ancient. For the first time, he felt anger. He inhaled. No air. But the motion mattered. Then he released a sound. Not loud. Not explosive. But wrong. It did not travel as sound. It traveled as existence displacement. A cone expanded from him. 3 million kilometers wide. Ships in front of him. Folded, crushed, erased, shattered. Vorketh organisms disintegrated instantly. Kale drones lost structural cohesion. Hellier cruisers collapsed like glass. Drathari fortresses cracked open. No explosion. Just overridden reality. The battlefield froze. A massive empty wedge formed in space. Silence. Then he moved. He appeared inside the Vorketh swarm. One strike. A living battleship split in half. He moved again. Tentacled organisms burst apart. He tore through biological vessels effortlessly. No hesitation. No defense. Just overwhelming force. Hellier ships fired star beams. He walked through them. Their shields failed instantly. He crushed 3 cruisers together. Kale Mechanocracy deployed coordinated drones. He waved his hand. The drones froze. Then collapsed. Drathari warriors launched boarding pods. He punched once. The shockwave vaporized them. All factions recognized the truth. This wasn't an anomaly. This was extinction. Retreat signals activated. Ships attempted hyperspace jumps. He moved faster, destroying escape vectors. The Crawl Mechanocracy calculated probabilities. Direct combat. Impossible. Containment. Unlikely. Solution. Dimensional displacement. They deployed their final weapon. A massive cube unfolded. Its surfaces rotated. Energy grids formed. Space twisted inward. A wormhole began forming. Not stable, not navigational. Chaotic. Violent. A forced dimensional tear. He turned, reaching out to the fluctuating space butt. The device detonated. Space collapsed around him. Not explosion. Pull. Reality inverted. Light bent inward. He was dragged. Ships nearby were shredded. Fragments stretched into strings. The wormhole swallowed only one target. Him. The tear closed instantly. Silence returned. Debris floated. Burning ships drifted. 4 galactic armies, shattered. Some survivors transmitted. Greater than, unknown entity, removed. Langa emerged. Not in space. Not in vacuum. Not in anything familiar. The dimension was wrong. No stars. No darkness. Just shifting geometric structures stretching infinitely. Gravity moved sideways. Light came from nowhere. Time felt uneven. He stood there, free of the suit, fully evolving, alone, and something in that dimension noticed him. Back on Earth, 2,000 years had passed since the children of Langa spread across the continents. The world was no longer simply divided between tribes and descendants. It was now divided by fear. And at the center of that fear, the mobile monolith cult. Long before deserts, the Nile region was lush. Dense forests stretched across northern Africa. Towering trees with thick canopies blocked sunlight. Rivers branched across fertile plains. Massive prehistoric animals roamed freely. Giant antelope, saber-toothed predators, and the last scattered populations of Neanderthals lived in uneasy coexistence. Descendant kingdoms visited the region peacefully. It was considered sacred ground, a place of growth and balance. Until the cult arrived, the Order of the Burning Sun constructed something beneath their mobile monolith. A massive techno-arcane engine. It combined crystalline energy conduits, rotating gravitational rings, bioorganic siphoning cores, dark resonance chambers. They called it the Vitality Engine. When activated, it began pulling life force from everything in a 1,000-kilometer radius. Trees withered first, leaves turned gray, branches cracked, roots shriveled, animals fled, but many collapsed mid-run, their bodies drained. Rivers slowed as surrounding ecosystems collapsed. The ground hardened, moisture vanished. Within decades, green became brown. Brown became dust. The future Egyptian desert was born. The Desert Kingdom, Khaen, saw it first. Their scouts returned with reports. Greater than, the land is dying. They confronted the cult. The cult responded. Greater than, life is fuel. Strength requires sacrifice. Negotiations ended. War began. The Desert Kingdom mobilized their solar-armored armies. Sand gliders filled the skies. Heat lances ignited. They attacked the mobile monolith directly. But the cult was prepared. They emerged from the moving city. Huge, massive, each one far larger than other descendants. Their skin, deep blood red. Not paint, not armor, but stained permanently from generations of ritual sacrifice. Their bodies were scarred, hardened, and engineered by relentless training. They believed pain made them stronger. Sacrifice purified them. They wielded bone metal hybrid blades, blood-fueled energy gauntlets, resonance hammers. They met Khaen forces head-on. The desert skies filled with explosions. Solar beams clashed with dark energy bursts. Sandstorms rose as shockwaves struck the ground. Khaen warriors fought with precision. Cult warriors fought with fury. After years of war, the cult deployed their greatest weapon. The Vitality Engine focused into a single beam. It struck the Khaen monolith. The ancient structure cracked. Energy drained from its core. The monolith collapsed. The Desert Kingdom fell. Survivors fled to other descendant territories. The first monolith had been destroyed. Victory made the cult more extreme. They began capturing remaining Neanderthal populations, large prehistoric beasts, enemy descendants, even some human tribes. They performed rituals inside the mobile monolith. Blood flowed through channels carved into stone. Energy from sacrifice amplified their engine. Their warriors grew even larger, even stronger, even more feared. The fall of Khaen changed everything. Imbali, Zarmaku, Tharik, Island Vurakai, they all realized the cult would not stop. They would drain the entire world. For the first time in history, all remaining descendant kingdoms united. Even the isolationist Island Vurakai agreed. A council formed near the ruins of Khaen. They declared, greater than, we stand together, or we all fall. Each kingdom contributed. IMBALI growth enhanced warriors, energy spears, healing technologies, Zarmaku living plant, war beasts, camouflage fighters, bioenergy traps, Tharik gravity armor, mountain resonance cannons, floating fortresses, Vurakai shockwave blades, flight harness units, aggressive assault troops. Together, they formed the largest army ever assembled. The cult welcomed the war. They believed, greater than, only through total sacrifice will Langa return. Their mobile monolith began moving again toward the united forces. The confrontation gathered near the edge of the new desert. Dust storms rolled across dead land. The united armies lined the horizon. The mobile monolith advanced slowly. Its massive stone rings rotated. Blood energy pulsed across its surface. The war of the monoliths begins. Shockwave weapons fired. Gravity cannons roared. Plant beasts charged. Cult warriors leapt from the moving city. The earth trembled. Mountains cracked. Energy lit the sky. Normal humans watched from far distances. They told stories. The red giants of sacrifice, the sun children waging war, the end of the world. Myths formed instantly. The united descendants advance. The cult stands ready. The desert, once forest, becomes battlefield. Above them, the sky glows faintly, as if something far away has shifted. Langa is gone, but his children prepare for their greatest war. Chapter 9. The wind blew across the new desert. A harsh, dry wind that carried with it the scent of dead earth. 2,000 years earlier, this land had been forest. Now it was dust. At the edge of that dust, the United Monolith Council gathered. They stood upon a wide plateau of dark stone overlooking the scar left by the cult's device. Around them rose the banners of the remaining kingdoms, symbols carved into metal and crystal rather than cloth. The Imbali emblem glowed softly, a spiraling sun surrounded by growing leaves. The Zarmaku crest resembled a living tree whose roots wrapped around a sphere. The Tharic sigil was a mountain split by a vertical line of energy. The Vurakai mark showed a jagged blade cutting through waves. At the center, a circular stone table had been erected, carved from fragments of the fallen Kayan monolith. A deliberate choice. A reminder. The first to speak was Elder Mbaku of Imbali, his voice calm but heavy. We stand on land that once fed our ancestors. We drank from rivers that no longer exist. The cult has not merely declared war, they have declared war on life itself. Across from him, Commander Asha of Vurakai crossed her arms, her expression stern. They declared war long ago, she replied. We simply refused to see it. The fall of Kayan was the warning. Now we face extinction if we hesitate again. A tall, armored figure stepped forward. High Warden Torek of Tharic. His gravity-enhanced armor hummed faintly, anchoring him firmly to the stone. The cult grows stronger with every sacrifice. Their warriors now exceed ours in raw physical strength. Their mobile monolith remains intact. We must discuss strategy, not only outrage. From the shaded side of the council circle, a voice emerged, quiet but unsettling. We should consider another possibility. All eyes turned. Seer Ilanu of Zarmaku stepped into the light, vines wrapped around her arms like living jewelry. What possibility? Asha asked. That they cannot be defeated by force alone, Ilanu said. Their belief sustains them. Their rituals empower their machines. If we destroy their armies but leave the vitality engine intact, they will rebuild. Mbaku nodded slowly. Then we must strike the engine. Torek shook his head. The engine lies inside the mobile monolith. Its defenses rival our strongest fortresses. Direct assault will cost thousands. Asha leaned forward. Then thousands will die. Better that than millions when the world turns to desert. Silence followed. The truth hung in the air. Life within the kingdom's Imbali, the growing plains far to the south, the Imbali lands remained fertile. Their people cultivated enhanced crops using crystal irrigation towers. Children trained in spear techniques that doubled as energy channeling exercises. Healers studied plant-based regeneration. Imbali society valued balance. They feared the cult because it represented imbalance. A teacher spoke to young trainees. We grow. We protect. We do not conquer. But when growth is threatened, protection becomes war. Zarmaku, the living forest, the forest kingdom thrived in deep jungle. Their cities were grown, not built. Massive trees bent into archways, roots formed chambers, glowing spores lit the night. Warriors moved silently between branches. But even here, fear spread. Animals sensed the vitality drain creeping outward. Seer Ilanu addressed her people. The desert expands slowly. The cult feeds on life. If we do nothing, our forests will follow. Tharic, the mountain fortress high in the mountains, Tharic warriors trained in gravity chambers. Their armor increased weight, forcing their bodies to adapt to extreme pressure. Their philosophy: strength must endure. Endurance wins wars. High Warden Torek addressed his commanders. The cult relies on aggression. We rely on endurance. We will hold the line until the moment comes to strike. Vurakai, the island warriors on isolated islands, the Vurakai trained relentlessly. They sparred daily, pushing limits. Their flight harnesses allowed rapid aerial strikes. Commander Asha addressed her warriors. The cult thinks itself strongest. They forget we were born in isolation. We survived storms, hunger, and each other. We will not fall to zealots. The cult prepares inside the mobile monolith. The atmosphere differed entirely. Stone corridors pulsed with red energy. Massive warriors trained in brutal arenas. Blood-stained altars lined ritual chambers. The high priest King Varrock stood before the vitality engine. It pulsed like a heart. We are close, he said. A disciple knelt. The United Kingdom's approach. Varrock smiled. Good. More sacrifice. Dialogue among cult warriors. A young cult warrior asked an elder, why do we fight our own blood? The elder replied, they abandoned evolution. They cling to comfort. Langa will return only when the strongest survive. We ensure that strength. Another warrior lifted a blade. The United Kingdoms believe us monsters. The elder answered, they fear what they cannot endure. Nearby human tribes whispered among themselves. They are giants, one said. They bleed red, another added. They turn forests into dust, an elder warned. Some humans fled, others watched in awe. Myths began forming. The Red Sun Walkers, the Blood Children, the War of Giants. Back at the plateau, the council finalized their decision. Torek spoke. We strike in 3 phases. He drew patterns in stone. Tharik anchors the front line. Imbali supports with ranged energy. Zarmaku infiltrates. Vurukai performs aerial assault on the engine. Asha nodded. We go for the heart. Ilanu added. But remember, if the engine overloads, it could drain the region instantly. Mbaku answered. Then we must destroy it carefully. Armies assembled. Gravity-armored soldiers marched. Plant beasts roared. Flight harness units launched. Energy spears glowed. The ground trembled. On the horizon, the cult city moved. Stone rings rotated. Red energy surged. War drums echoed. Varrock raised his hand. Let the world witness evolution. The united armies halted. The cult advanced. Between them lay desert. Once forest. Now battlefield. Mbaku whispered. For Kain. Asha said. For survival. Torek added. For endurance. Ilanu closed her eyes. For balance. The War of the Monoliths began. 10,000 BC to 2000 BC, the first clash did not decide anything. It only began something far larger than any of them understood. The battlefield near the dead Nile forest became sacred ground, not for peace, but for endless war. Neither side achieved total victory. The cult's mobile monolith survived. The United Kingdoms held their ground. The vitality engine was damaged, but not destroyed. So they fought again, and again. Years passed, then decades, then centuries, and eventually, generations. Era I, the War of Stone, 10,000 to 8,500 BC, the earliest phase remained grounded. Armies clashed across deserts and forests. Monolith energy weapons shattered mountains. Gravity cannons created valleys. Living plant beasts tangled with blood-red warriors. Children were born into war. They learned to walk beside energy shields. Learned language through battle commands. Learned history through scars on the land. The cult warriors grew larger each generation. Their harsh training and ritual sacrifices shaped them into towering figures, some nearly 3 meters tall. Their skin deepened into darker crimson hues, permanently stained by ritual exposure. Meanwhile, the United Kingdoms adapted. They began sharing technology. Imbali healing systems were integrated into Tharik armor. Zarmaku living biostructures were combined with Vurukai flight harnesses. The fusion of knowledge created something new, not separate kingdoms anymore, but a shared civilization. But the war never stopped. Era 2. The War of Elements, 8,500 to 6,000 BC, the battlefield expanded. Energy weapons grew stronger. Weather manipulation towers were weaponized. Artificial lightning storms rolled across continents. Oceans were used strategically. Tidal generators flooding cult supply routes. The cult responded. They improved the vitality engine. Instead of draining entire ecosystems slowly, they learned to focus vitality extraction into weapons. Red beams capable of aging living tissue instantly. Fields that weakened enemy soldiers by draining stamina. The war became stranger, more dangerous, less human. Humans living far away began witnessing distant lights in the sky. They saw glowing figures flying. Mountains exploding. Thunder without storms. They began telling stories. The sky ancestors fight above us. They are angry gods. The world shakes when they clash. Myths were born. Era 3. The War of Ascension, 6,000 to 4,000 BC. After thousands of years, both sides reached a realization. Ground warfare was destroying the planet. The deserts expanded. Forests burned. Rivers altered course. Even the United Kingdoms began to fear total ecological collapse. So they changed strategy. They began lifting their monoliths. At first, only small levitation. Then larger. Entire cities rose slightly above ground. The cult responded immediately. Their mobile monolith expanded upward, towers forming, red energy thrusters forming beneath. The war shifted vertically. Battles took place in the sky. Humans saw figures descending from clouds. They described them as sun warriors, thunder gods, fire spirits. These descriptions later evolved into mythological deities. Era IV. The Great Fusion, 4,000 to 3,200 BC, the United Kingdoms finally took the most drastic step. They fused their monoliths. It took generations of engineers, Massive gravitational anchors pulled structures together. Energy cores merged. The result? A single colossal floating landmass, 100 kilometers in radius. Cities grown from combined technologies. Living forests integrated with crystal towers. Gravity engines stabilized the structure. This became known as the Sky Kingdom of Unity. It hovered high above Earth. A permanent airborne civilization. The cult did not remain behind. They transformed their own monolith. They expanded upward. Spurred cathedrals formed. Red energy rings rotated. They called it the Cathedral of Ascension. A floating fortress powered by sacrifice and vitality extraction. Now both sides lived above the world. Era V, the War of Gods, 3200 to 2000 BC. With orbital positioning, warfare escalated dramatically. Energy beams now crossed the upper atmosphere. Combatants learned to manipulate gravity. Some awakened abilities. Flight without devices, energy projection from their bodies, shockwave punches, weather manipulation. These awakenings came from generations exposed to monolith energy. They no longer looked human. They looked divine. Humans below watched glowing figures battle across the sky. They described winged warriors, thunder wielders, fire beings, giants walking on clouds. These sightings later influenced early mythologies. Sky gods battling, war in heaven, divine punishment, falling stars. As the sky kingdoms rose higher, they stopped fighting on the ground. Earth began to recover. Humans spread. Agriculture developed. Tribal societies grew. But stories remained. They spoke of the war above, the Sun Children, the Red Giants, the Sky Kingdom. These stories evolved into religious archetypes. 2000 BC. By now, both sides existed entirely in the sky. The Sky Kingdom of Unity, a floating landmass glowing with green and gold energy. Population unified, technology stable, philosophy focused on preservation. The Cathedral of Ascension, a towering red structure. Spiked architecture, warriors larger than ever, driven by fanatic belief. They clashed one final time. Massive energy beams collided. Shockwaves rippled across the atmosphere. Humans saw streaks of light. Some described them as angels fighting demons. Others, gods punishing the world. Neither side destroyed the other. But both suffered heavy losses. They withdrew. Higher, beyond easy visibility. They left Earth to humanity. The sky became quieter. But occasionally, a flash, a rumble, a falling star. Humans continued telling stories. Religions formed. Myths spread. But high above, the two sky kingdoms still existed. Watching, waiting, still at war, still evolving. And far beyond, Langa remained unaware that his descendants had become the gods of early humanity.